Hi, Joe Howe, EMC account rep, here to talk to you all today in the channel really about VxRail. I just did a video on the benefits it can provide your customers. It's in the link below. Feel free to look at that if you want more of a technical deep dive. But ultimately, the goal of this video is to talk to you really about the use cases for VxRail, when you should position it, and most importantly, how it can help all of you. So at a really high level, what's VxRail? What's hyper-converged? When you look at a traditional infrastructure environment, we're basically taking your servers, networking, and storage and combining it into a condensed small 2U appliance composed of nodes. Each node is going to contain RAM, CPU, memory, and storage. So what's good about this product? What's great about it? How's it going to help you guys? When do you position it? From a use case perspective, really where we position this the most is infrastructure refreshes. So if a customer is looking to refresh their perhaps networking in server environment or their server and storage environment, typically we can make a good, compelling TCO to have them look at a hyper-converged appliance, specifically VxRail. Another really good use case, if they're not ready to refresh their traditional production environment, but they have a VDI deployment coming out and they don't want to run it on their traditional environment for whatever reason, this is really a purpose-built appliance for that. It's small, it's easy to manage, and it's very powerful. From a DR perspective, disaster recovery perspective, especially in the small mid-market accounts, a lot of customers, they really don't have a good disaster recovery strategy. So there's really three plays here for VxRail. Number one, if they want to build out their DR site, one option is we will have them move their current production environment, obviously it might be a little bit older, to their DR location, put a VxRail in that new production environment so they're getting better performance for their applications, better outcomes. So that's really a great situation for it. The second option is if a customer likes this here, they don't want to move it over, great, let's put a VxRail in that DR site instead and let it replicate back and forth at the VMware layer. And then the third option, which is really probably the best for both of us, is let's scrap this, let's put a VxRail box there, let's put a VxRail box in their DR site and allow them to communicate back and forth effectively. Finally, the fourth use case for VxRail where we find it effective to position it is for enterprise edges, right? What do I mean by that? Enterprises obviously have, tens, hundreds of locations. Why build all of this out and have to manage all of this when you can simply put a VxRail appliance in those edge locations? So this is great, but how does this benefit you? How is this going to help you? Why would you want to position it? For starters, from a hyper-converged perspective, VxRail is typically out the door, transferred to you guys about 20 to 30% lower than other hyper-converged startups that we deal with. So ultimately what that means for you is more margin. If you can get a product at a lower cost in a competitive situation, you can win with VxRail. You can obviously put more points on it, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we want. We want you guys to do well and make money. And then also from a sales cycle perspective, I think this is extremely valuable from a time perspective and sales cycle perspective for the channel. What do I mean by that? When a customer is looking to refresh their primary production environment, I think we all know, and I think it's safe to say that the VAR market, the reseller market, it's pretty saturated today. And what that means for you is you have to compete over every single layer within this data center. Customers want the best price at every single layer. So you might win one or two or maybe even three of these layers, but the chances of winning the entire environment probably a little bit more rare. And ultimately, you might have multiple sales cycles here. With VxRail, you can win the entire data center in one sales cycle. So it's going to free up a lot more time for you and ultimately allow you guys to make more money. And then I think most importantly, we want to be a value consultant to our customers, right? Especially in the reseller space. You want them to come to you looking for the latest and greatest technology. And we're seeing massive movement towards buy infrastructure versus traditional build infrastructure. So thank you for your time today. We look forward to working with you in the channel and selling some VxRails. Again, my name is Joe Howe. I have my contact info listed below. We look forward to working together.